Bees are dying, and our survival depends on them. That's why 4RB's created the Pure Wave Cell, a breakthrough quantum device proven to help hives thrive, doubling colonies and boosting honey production naturally. Every jar of our Pure Wave honey fuels this mission, supporting beekeepers worldwide. Visit 4RBees.com. That's the number 4RBees.com, and use code WITF for 20% off. Save the bees! Save us all!
Where in the Folk is not and should not be viewed as a news source. Any names, places, or likenesses mentioned are purely fictional, and any information discussed is purely speculative. Guest opinions are their own and do not reflect those of anyone else. Where in the Folk is not responsible for content accuracy of any stories that are told or what people do with these stories. This show is vulgar, sometimes graphic, and due to its content, it should not be viewed by anyone, actually.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Where in the Folk. We're glad you could join us tonight. And you're here with myself, Morgana, and the greatest, the best, the real Stephen.
Good evening, everyone.
Yes. How have you been?
I'm glad it's Friday.
Yes, Friday's good. Some more so than others.
It was a good week altogether, but I'm still glad that it's Friday.
Yes,
we get to hang out together. So
that's right.
Crystal and Landa and Jenny.
Yep.
Others who
Crystal
will hopefully join us tonight. Crystal, yes,
yep.
Yes.
Yep, got Crystal. So, like I said, we're going to have fun. So tonight we are talking cave art. So for tens of thousands of years, long before there were books, kingdoms, organized religion, humans ventured deep into caves carrying little more than stone tools, animal fat lamps, and pigment made out of charcoal and minerals. And in the flickering firelight, they painted massive bulls, horses, deer, handprints, strange symbols, and figures that seemed to exist somewhere between human and spirit. Today we call it cave art, but the deeper question is probably whether these images were ever simply art. Because around the world, from Europe to Indonesia to the Americas, these markings suggest something a little bit more. And I think it's probably humanity's earliest attempts to communicate memory, their mythologies, their rituals, and even their identity. It's like, we were here. And while, as time went on, we start seeing more of an actual written language and stuff like that. Maybe this was their written language. This is how they chose to leave their mark so that the next person that came along, because at the end of the day, a lot of these caves, you didn't just stumble on. They had to prepare for it. You had to carry lights with you. You had to carry, something to do your art with and everything like that. There are caves that you have to walk and crawl to get to some of these in. Mm-hmm. So, maybe it was, their religion, or, maybe it was just the world and them not knowing another way to explain it.
Right.
So, that's just a thought. So,
to me, I wouldn't argue with any of it. It's if we go by what the Bible says, about the languages splitting up and things like that, this could have been possibly an attempt to communicate with other people through art, through pictures and things like that. I believe it would also be a way to share information with other people. Mm-hmm. Somebody who been out on the hunting party and they'd seen buffalo, or they'd seen horses, or they'd seen this or that. And they would draw what they saw that day. It was, but at the same time, even though they may have been living in a cave, this is something I would like to point out. Even though they may have been living in a cave at the time, the fact that they were sophisticated enough to produce the artwork that they did means that they weren't stupid, knuckle dragging people.
Yes. Exactly. Because it's okay. They had the whole there for a while, the Geico commercials with the caveman and
Right.
everything. That's really how people try to, portray what early mankind was.
Yeah.
But, nobody was actually there to verify any of that.
No.
And the fact that they were able to live and leave things of themselves, and that we're here today because regardless of how you think or what you believe or anything else, there is a connection between early man and modern man. It's there.
Yeah.
It's in the
yeah.
DNA. It's everywhere.
Without a
So
doubt.
yeah. And, it would have been pretty easy if they were that stupid to have died out real quick,
Yeah.
but they didn't. They still move forward and everything. And we're still finding new species of humanoids because, it's just in the last couple of decades, they found the ones that they refer to as the hobbits on that little island over in Indonesia. I mean,
Yes.
that was an entire species of human.
Well, there's actually there's actually a short video is people in Indonesia that were riding motorcycles. And one of these little hobbit type people runs up the trail and crosses in front of them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's actually a video of that.
I'm going to have to go find that one.
That is supposed to be authentic. If you can look that up, I mean, I believe that's where it was. And I mean, they haven't died out yet. And if that video is authentic, which I don't know why. I don't know. It didn't make worldwide news, but it became fairly popular.
Well, and I do tend to find that things that are a little bit more obscure but doesn't get the coverage are generally the ones that are true, because okay, we'll use Bigfoot as an example. You have the group of people who are doing everything they can to debunk it and discount it and everything like that. But the reality is there are people who have proof that this creature, and it's not just in our culture, it's cultures around the world. We've talked about this so many times about it's easy to discount something until you start looking at the fact that communities and places that have no communication with anybody else are seeing the same things, and you're seeing it in their art and everything else,
Yeah.
So
it's just like in California, they have rock art out there depicting Bigfoot.
Yep.
In California. I think it's on the Indian reservation is where it's actually at. But yeah, Jenny, you could be correct. Maybe they brought him back. I don't know. It's funny that you would make that comment, because here in the past month or so, there was a lady who was attacked by a dog man, or what we believe was a dog man in Oklahoma. Well, Lance Hightower, he has a popular podcast. He was talking to a guy who used to go in and haul ammunition out of the depot around Antlers, I think, somewhere not Antlers, but other place just up the road there from it in Oklahoma. And what that man claimed was way back then they had dog men that would actually serve as guards for the base way back then.
Yeah. I mean,
Had of going over.
So, that's, and that's the thing too. Like I say, just because some of these things are too smart to be caught, maybe that's the whole point. Like I said, because, we've talked about, the possibility of them being multidimensional, and, just, there are so many things, that I mean, okay, there's a chance it's all wrong. We all know that, but there are just way too many coincidences to be coincidence.
Right.
So,
And whenever there are too many coincidences, you have to stop calling it that.
that's right. That's exactly right. Because
It starts becoming evidence.
just this past week, they showed us that aliens were real all along. It's funny because somebody sent me a video and said, "Did you see this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that came from the government's website. Generally, if the government's pushing it, I'm calling BS." Because, and that does not mean I don't believe in aliens. I mean, I've always said I do not think in any world that we are so special and so awesome that if you believe in a creator, that creator says, "Oh yeah, such a good job," then we're just going to stop there. Or if you believe in science, that we were the only place that was conducive to life. Just my opinion.
Right. It's no, we're surrounded by other life. It's I believe it's all around us all the time.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Yep. I've been tempted more than once to buy me some of those glasses that they used to have in World War II. There's one guy that makes them with the original cyan technology that they used back then. And I think next time I want to indulge myself, that may be my purchase.
Yeah, I will let you go first.
Okay. Here's the thing. If they work like they say they're going to work, I can always just ship them to y'all. Y'all can try them out and we can just send them around to us.
Yeah.
So
I may not want to see what's on the perimeter.
And I may not either, but I'm willing to try it just because I'm that person. Yes, give them to me. Let's go. But, I shouldn't say that because I was listening to a horror book this week about a haunted house. And I go to sleep to a book most nights. And I just fell asleep at the perfect moment that book went right into my dream sequence. And I was in a haunted house for half the nights. And that's fiction. So,
okay. Yeah.
Maybe don't want to go there, but I would do it. I would do it in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Cave paintings. So the most famous ones in the world are in Lascaux, France. The artist, about 17,000 years ago, covered the cavern walls with enormous animals that seemed almost alive in the torchlight. Many of the figures were painted to follow the natural curves and bulges of the cave walls, and it almost creates movement and depth, really almost beyond what a lot of people in this day and age can paint. I mean, because you go back to that, they're prehistoric people. But the fact that they were able to use the shape and the bulges and the cave, I mean, the dips and everything to make it look like that is absolutely amazing. And in one particular scene, it's called the shaft scene. It depicts a bird-headed man standing before a wounded bison. And beside that, there appears to be like a bird's staff. But unlike the hunting scene surrounding, this one almost feels symbolic and mythological. Because like I said, so much of it is just, animal imagery and stuff like that. So I was going to pull up some pictures also, because this is a good episode to have pictures.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
So let's go share a window. There we go. All right. So let's go. So, I mean,
right.
Like I said, this is supposedly prehistoric people that, did not, that barely had fire, And like I said, and, and it's a lot of detail too, considering that it's a cave painting, that, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. And the fact that they had to use the proper amount of charcoal and the proper amount of, the O word.
Yep.
What's oakum? Ochre.
Yeah, ochre.
Sorry.
Yep.
Ochre.
No, you're good.
And And they were able to do this more than
Mm-hmm.
likely with torches or something like that.
Yep.
And they were able to produce this.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, and this is not just, there's no natural light in this cave.
No.
So they also did it with, like I said, lanterns made of animal fat.
Mhm.
They didn't
Yes.
drag in wood to do this, So yeah,
Right.
I mean, that just is
Yeah.
amazing.
And to me, this right here would be something there were they preserving history because they weren't sure what the future held,
Mm-hmm.
saying, hey, these things were really here.
Yes. Yes. Well, and here's the thing too that kind of crosses your mind. In every major civilization, and we've talked about this in different episodes and stuff, there's always an apocalyptic doomsayer time where
Mhm.
everybody
Yes.
thinks the world's going to end, So, it could easily have been something that started because of some event and they felt the need to share these things.
Right. Yeah, that very well could have been, I mean, it's one thing that was we know is that a lot of Europe, it was covered with ice at one time. As the ice began to melt, people were able to migrate. Maybe they felt trapped in an area and they thought that they would try to preserve some of their culture as best that they could, letting
Mhm.
you know that they were hunter gatherers, and this is what they were pursuing.
Mhm.
They didn't know if they were going to survive till the next summer or not.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like a time capsule.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that makes perfect sense. Like I said, and we see that time and again, in different cultures. Because, so like I said, why would it be any different from a culture, thousands of years ago? So this is Spain's Altamira cave. And,
Okay.
it tells a very similar story. Its painted
Yes.
bisons are so detailed and vibrant that when the cave
Mhm.
was first discovered in the 19th century, scientists accused the discoverers of forgery because they refused to believe that ancient humans could produce work of such sophistication.
Yes.
The cave ceiling itself was used as part of the composition, with the stone contours forming the muscles and movements of the animals. It is one of the first reminders that our ancestors were not primitive in the way that we often tend to imagine, that they were. They were observant, they were intelligent, and they were symbolic thinkers. They understood abstract ideas and artistic mastery, obviously. And like I said, and you can even see, in some of these paintings, like I said, there is a bulge of the side of the bison coming out of the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So
wild. Yeah.
mhm.
They used the contour of the cave to put that there.
To give it
So,
dimension. Yeah.
yeah.
So, and like I said, and these were about the same age as the Lascaux paintings.
Yeah. So you would think that this would be part of the same civilization. Maybe
Mhm.
so. Maybe one predates the other by quite a few years.
Yeah.
Maybe it could have been part of the same civilization, maybe just not at the exact same time.
Yeah. Very possibly. And like I said, this almost looks like chalk,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even engraved into the actual stone.
Yes.
And I don't know who he is. I'm going to say it's someone who wrote a book. And yes, these were actually, he was the one who originally discovered it. And these were also some of the items and objects found in the cave. And he actually took the time to sketch out the entire ceiling in that one area.
Sorry to interrupt you. Did y'all perhaps super glue this on here just above me?
No. No, you'll have to figure it out.
Not to cut it off.
No, don't cut it off.
We used tools and it's still not coming off.
Get a pipe wrench.
Yeah.
We used the cooking pipe wrench you got in there. All we're doing is stripping the lid out.
There is hot sauce in that cabinet. Besides that,
That bottle's almost empty, so I'm trying to refill it.
there's another bottle in there. Sorry, everybody. See?
No problem.
Even your children as adults sometimes still need their mama.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, all right. So,
Yeah.
and like I said, yeah.
Yeah. In Florida, where they had dug out a canal and they went and dumped what they dug up, on an island, they'd actually found some carvings in, I think it might have been part of a tusk of, say, some of the mammoths and other creatures that roamed around in North America at one time, and people sketched it out, on bone.
Yeah.
So the I don't know. It's really interesting to me. Was it the hunter-gatherers? Did they wipe out all the animals, or was there another event that we haven't been completely told the whole truth about that helped devastate them?
That would never happen. That our governments would never do that. Goodness. No, I think that's very possible. Like I said, because I mean, you hear of these events that happened and everything, and that's not to say that they aren't real, but I think that there are a lot of things that they still keep hidden from us as a community. Hang on, let me see if I can get that beaker. All right, so this one is from okay, this research came from Indonesia. These paintings were found on the island of Sulawesi, and they're over 45,000 years old. So they include wild pigs, haunting negative handprints created by blowing pigment around a human hand pressed against the stones. And for decades, many researchers assumed advanced symbolic thought emerged primarily in Europe, but discoveries in Indonesia challenged that belief entirely. So now it appears that symbolic expression that you're seeing in these caves was probably happening way earlier than they originally thought,
Right.
So, and these are some of the ones from, and like I said, you can actually see prints where the person who was doing this actually had pigment on their hand. Is what that one is. And
oh yeah. In Indonesia, yeah.
Yep, in Indonesia. All right. So like I said, I think this is a good one to show stuff. Show full plasma forms. So then Australia contains some of the oldest continuously maintained artistic traditions on Earth. Aboriginal rock art includes remarkable X-ray paintings showing the internal organs of animals, as well as mysterious spirit beings shown in, I'm going to totally tear this word up, Wandjina figures, often depicted with large dark eyes and halo-like heads. Unlike many prehistoric European cave sites, some Aboriginal traditions surrounding these figures survived into recorded oral history. So that continuity is important because it reminds us that cave art may not have been just random. It could have represented spiritual systems, cosmology, sacred memories, cultural knowledge that was passed down through generations. Just like so many of your indigenous people in this country, they had the wise man, the medicine man that carried that oral tradition. Right. Well, Australia is huge for that.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And when we covered, Lemuria and Mu and some of the other lost continents, Australia was a lot bigger than what it is currently. So,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they were there and some of the wildlife got separated from the rest, they have some unique species in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
would also lend credence to that as well.
Yep. So that's where I was going. Was to,
Yeah. There's a lot of, I know Cecil and we talked about, I was telling him one night on the show about the Judaculla stone, which really isn't that far from him. I think he was going to maybe try to go there sometime. And I think it might have been a star map that was carved into a rock. So
cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to get us some Aboriginal art to show. And hang on. I don't know how to keep this going nonstop like Cecil does, so y'all have to forgive me. Okay. So this is from the Walloninga archaeological site in South Australia. And see, that's where they were talking about the images with the halos around their heads.
Yes.
And that is something that you see a lot in religious art.
Yes, you do. You'll see the halo around somebody. That right there, that's a, if the halo represented someone who was holy back then,
Yes.
that's kind of that's what I think about, because I've seen some of the same artwork that you have, with the halo around a certain saint or what have you.
That's kind of what gives you that whole feeling. I mean, to me, and a lot, especially when you look at the Renaissance art and stuff like that, that was a thing. That was how Jesus Christ was always depicted. That's how holy men are depicted in other faiths and also. So, all right. And these are petroglyphs in northern Tasmania. And yeah. Scroll. And another thing that there are a lot of repetitive things that they show, as far as what am I looking for? Hang on. Yeah, I don't want art galleries because there you go. That one was the one I was actually looking for. Or maybe they don't want me to see it. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It looks like a great alien.
Yeah. And these are 4,000 years old.
Yes.
And like I said, the big black eyes and like I said, the halo around the heads and everything. So, when you talk about the Anunnaki and everything like that, I mean, like there's, what are the odds that, like I said, something could not present in more than one generation, because that's always been a thing, and that doesn't necessarily,
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
Am I delayed very much or very bad?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay. With this right here, I've never really looked into the Aboriginal dances and customs and festivals or stuff that they have, but I know that they'll paint their faces and stuff like that. So would this be their representation of what they had seen at one point in time, what the ancestors may have seen, or where did they come up? Yeah,
that absolutely makes sense. Yeah, that absolutely makes sense, especially like I said, when you start seeing things like this, because I mean, that's not just a little thing. I mean, there are defined lines, there are darker dots around it and everything. So, and you do see a lot of that when you see the Aboriginals, because they always use that white paint and everything that, just shows up beautifully on them and everything. And these, yeah, these are the ones they say that almost look like they're wearing space suits.
Yeah, the one on the right, I can see that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there was also some stuff similar to this in, I believe, in South America, and where it really looks like they're wearing a spacesuit. And
Yes.
some scientists had come in and said, "Well, this is how they would go diving in the water." Really?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
If you say so.
Sure. I have a
Yeah.
bridge for sale.
There you go. There you go. So, you know, European cave art receives the majority of the attention because, you know, they've made such big discoveries and everything. And like I said, and there's absolutely no questioning the validity of that. I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous. They say so much about the people from that time period, even though we still don't know anything more about them, but it's still, you know, like I said, it makes you rethink how people depict primitive humans.
Right.
But, you know, we also in this country have extraordinary sites. They're just as mysterious, but they tend to get overlooked. You know, I mean, because like I said, you know about the ones in France and the ones in Spain and even the Aboriginal art. Like I said, I remember studying it in college. But say the Utah's Barrier Canyon region, they have towering humanoid pictographs, and they like stare from the canyon walls with these hollow black eyes and elongated bodies, and some of them appear almost ghost-like. Let me see if I can find some of those.
Yeah, and I can't recall the name of the YouTube channel now, but there's a guy who goes out and he looks for these ancient dwellings, you know, out there in the desert in Utah and remote places like that. And it really begs the question, what were these people hiding from that they made their homes so inaccessible to get to? I mean, built it in the cleft of a rock, and it's really high up. It's really secluded. What was out there that they were trying to avoid? Is what it makes you wonder.
Well, you know what I find kind of funny about this, and I hate making a movie reference, but it's very legitimate in this particular case. I was watching The Fifth Element yesterday.
Oh, I love that one.
I do too. It's one of my favorites. But that's kind of what these shapes remind me of.
Yes.
You know, that supreme being that is in the pyramid at the beginning, you know, that it's that big statue that has its face pointing up and everything. Yeah. Some of these kind of have that same shape.
Yes, they do. Just look how tall they are compared to the width of the body.
Yeah.
That's
and yeah, so like I said, you know, and that's a pretty good, you know, area. You know, that's not just, you know, a little small piece, you know, they've actually painted this on the canyon walls. And they said that these were done from in a span of 1,500 to 4,000 years. So, I mean, this was a consistent addition, you know, people adding to it. And when you start moving across it, you do see where the art style changes.
Yes.
From where it starts over on the left and moves over to the right. I would love to know which ones were first.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting to know. I mean, also, you know, the places that are really well known are Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch.
Blind Frog Ranch, yep.
They're both in the Uinta Basin. And Jenny, for that right there, for me personally, I could look at it, but I'm still going to look at it from a biblical aspect. I could look at it. It's just like the Anunnaki and the chariot races of the gods, or whatever, the chariots of the gods, or whatever that that was the book.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, that's what I'm going to make my comparison to.
Well, like I said, and that's the thing. And I think that is a common thing. I won't say common, but I think that it is a natural thing. We tend to look at things and compare things to those things that we know, that we're comfortable with, and everything. So, that makes perfect sense to me as to why you would do that. Let's see.
With that right there, of course, I think you and I are on the same page there. We talked about it earlier. Maybe they're preserving history from maybe a previous generation or generations before that. And, did the ones who first started this rock art, did they actually see something, and some other people thought, well, they would add to it as well, or something like that? They had their own experience and they thought, well, I'll go where great grandpa or great grandma drew this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, or why could it not have been something like, a pilgrimage, that elders took their younger, family members to show them, this is us, we did this. And, as people move on and move out, then they tend to get left behind, especially, like I said, and so many of these being down underground and very far underground, it makes sense that, if you find something easier, you move away. If you find a better life. I mean, especially, you're looking at Utah, that's the desert. Well, let's go a couple counties over and there's this lush green land with water. We'll leave the caves behind. But there's still, for generations. And that, to me, is why it makes sense that there's a span of, 1,500 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the footprints on the picture you were showing previous to this were interesting.
Mm-hmm. How many toes they have.
Yeah.
Lots of toes.
Yeah. And that right there would fit into the same story, you get from Lovelock Cave in Nevada, which isn't that far away from, of course,
from Utah.
You got the Four Corners out there. So, I mean, they're not that far away. And the fact that they had the cannibalistic red-headed giants in Lovelock, that the people there had to fight and finally take out. Then you got the same artwork that would go along with it in Utah.
Yep. And this set is from Newspaper Rock. And like I said, but look over here to the right.
Yeah.
That yeah.
Yeah. And is that a turtle? Just about.
Yeah, maybe up here.
Right? Yeah.
Right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Is that a turtle?
That could be. That could be.
Okay.
Yep. And
look at that, the wheel.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that stuck out to me. Then right above the wheel, you have looks like a
horned
big creature with horns.
Yes. And then look over to the left, it's a different type of horn, but it's still that same type of creature. Okay. And I'm just that person, though. I saw Bart Simpson right in here. So
yeah, but look at the person on the horse standing up on the back of the horse shooting the bow.
Yes, and look at the horns on that. Maybe it's a deer, maybe
whatever it is.
Whatever it is,
mule deer or something.
Yeah. So, like I said, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and like I said, it's absolutely amazing. some
Yeah,
of the
and
stuff.
there's another turtle.
Hmm.
The turtles seem to be important to them.
Yeah. Well, you know, turtle is
Another
real big in Native American medicine.
Yeah.
All right. So that's cool. Another one that I did come across is Tennessee's Mudglyph Cave.
Oh.
And what makes it unique compared to a lot of the other ones is there are ceremonial figures and symbols that are scratched into the cave mud. And, you know, this is one of those that's deep, deep down into a cave. You know, there's, you know, no sunlight, you know, or anything like that in this cave. Let's see. Devil Step Hollow Cave. I don't think, okay, there we go. So this they're calling a woodpecker. And it could be, okay, because I see
Yeah.
the bill on it and everything.
Yeah.
But I was hoping, okay. And that I think they're calling a falcon warrior. And
Okay.
you can kind of see that it's got the bird head and you can see the wings
Yeah.
coming down and everything.
Is that not real similar to Egypt?
Yes,
The
that
Egyptian
does.
The
That
bird-headed
definitely.
man in Egypt?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's almost like a very disturbing smiley face.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
So it almost looks like eyes and then a
Yeah.
nose there and teeth, maybe. Let's see. And that is like almost like a shark.
Yeah.
Look at the teeth on that thing all the way over to the right. That is huge. Or there's two of them. It's one or the other. I can't really tell what's in the middle right there.
Yeah. Maybe somebody was trying to tell the story when they crossed the ocean to get to the new world, and they saw these big fish out there.
Mm-hmm.
So just let me draw it for you.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. And this is some kind of bird also.
Yeah.
That. Let's see. Yep, that was a devil step. And then where was this one at? Okay, that's I'm not real sure. Okay, there's a little bit more to it there. Not quite sure what it's depicting. And this is actually in one of the caves. That is actually a human footprint. That was and coyotes, foxes, dogs, maybe.
Yeah.
That's the fish again. A horned sea serpent. See, like I said, and all of these are actually drawn in the mud. A lot of them are.
Seems like it had to be still fresh on somebody's mind.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I definitely agree with that. Let's see. The Winnemucca Lake petroglyphs in Nevada. I wonder if that's near. Let's see here. Come on. Let's see if I can get to that Oh, come on. All right. So that almost looks like a dragon tail.
Yes, it does.
Hmm. Well, come on. I was expecting way more than that from something that says North America's oldest petroglyphs. That's one of my, there we go. That's the oldest rock art in North America. 10,500 years old.
Hmm.
And like I said, there's a lot of wear on it. So there's no telling how much detail was there in the beginning. If you're seeing this much 10,000 years later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, it almost looks like it has, the elements have been winning the battle against it.
Yeah. And I wonder if maybe this was like an entire mural, one whole piece at one time.
Yeah, that's what it looks like it very well could have been to me.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, you got geometric shapes, you've got flowers. It looks like there's a leaf pattern.
Look at the pattern on that right there. Does that not remind you of some of the stuff that they have in Chile and Andes Mountains and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Like I said, that geometric, but like I said, it has the breakup in the center of them and everything.
Yeah. 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 Who's to say somebody didn't throw a stick of dynamite on it at some point, Jenny? I wouldn't put it past people.
Yep. Oh yeah. And that's like I said, there are still people today that'll go to sites like this and, just be totally disrespectful and not take into consideration what it represents. And just the sheer age of it.
And the spiral there, or the circle spiral, was that when somebody saw a portal?
Maybe.
That's what the legend is.
Yep.
That's what the legend is on some of those things like it right there. The direction the spiral's going tells you whether it was coming in or going out.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
That's what the.
Like I said, that is a lot of detail, for an inferior group of people.
Yeah.
And in North America, a lot of the ones that have been found, tend to be more of the geometric shapes and the repeating patterns. But, that's still, these sites just really challenge the idea that this is just decoration. Because like I said, I mean, okay, I doodle, I draw, but that's a lot. I mean, you could have taken, a charcoal stick, from out of the fire if you just wanted to doodle.
Right.
To actually take the time to carve, and so, and I go back to the fact that it could very easily be that these were early forms of language. We separate writing and religion and symbolism into distinct categories, but ancient people may not have had those distinctions because again, nobody was there. We don't know. I mean, just because something looks simple to us doesn't mean it was to somebody who had no basis of comparison. I mean, you can put Arabic in front of me and I'm not going to know what it says, but I'm going to know it's Arabic because we have the means, we've had the exposure to know these, what these things are. But, they didn't have all of that. They didn't have the connectiveness. The world was a much bigger place back then. So I also think that, it kind of, we talked about this a little bit before, is what kind of connection it has to hieroglyphs. And especially, when you start looking at the helicopter images at Abydos, mainstream archaeology explains that those carvings, that they're like overlapping hieroglyphs that were altered over time, and, that erosion and plaster, and it just created shapes that they didn't intend for it to.
Yeah. And the airplane, the model of an airplane they found, and supposedly that was a bug with a cockpit in it. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I know there's a cover up. We all know this. I mean, not that the government would ever do this, but I mean, come on, look at that.
Yeah. Looks like a submarine.
Yes, it does. And up top looks like a damn car minus the wheels. Okay, so we call that a hovercraft.
Yeah, there's the helicopter.
Uh-huh. I mean, but that was just an accidental thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, just because we don't know what the meaning of something was, just because we can't explain it, doesn't mean it didn't have more to it. But and yes, imagination is a wonderful thing. I have one of those too.
Yeah.
But you almost have to have some kind of basis of comparison for some ideas. Some things can't be abstract if you don't know what a submarine is, because that is not something that you have in the desert.
No. Typically, no.
Yeah. So that's what it's fascinating, is the commonality that that we're seeing with all the different cultures that are separated by oceans and thousands of years. Handprints are across continents, as if I was here. I mean, this was me. I did this. And some of them are in dangerous chambers that they required effort to get to. So that's not just a casual, let's go decorate a cave. That had to have some meaning. And in some of these chambers where these paintings are, the acoustics are phenomenal. So you have this person in there that is painting, and then you've got someone else that's in there, say, chanting or drumming. And it becomes a big spiritual thing.
Right. Because
those things, most art forms are a feeling. When the music hits you, because it makes you feel. I mean, noise is noise.
Right.
It has to be something extra to have that connection. And I just, it amazes me how people like to write it off.
Yeah. And I believe it's in one of the caves in France, where they have the horses that are in there. And you click your fingers on the wall, it will actually produce the sound of horses' hooves hitting the ground.
Yes. And I think it's Altamira that when they take in flames and stuff, it looks like the bison are actually moving across a plain. And like I said, I don't think that's accidental. I think that somebody took some time to make that happen.
Right.
And everything.
Yeah.
And, I hate that the guys aren't here, because Mammoth Cave in Kentucky. Okay, we've already talked about the fact that it is the largest known cave system in the world. And it does contain evidence of ancient human activity. Now, and it's not the same as a lot of the things that we've talked about tonight, but they also have made discoveries of ancient Americans being in that cave system from 2,000 to 5,000 years ago to mine gypsum and other minerals.
Yep.
And again, you don't just go in a cave and say, let's go get some gypsum. I mean, you need it for something.
Right.
So, and they have found torch bundles made from cane. They found footprints left in soft mud. They have found cane torches that contained fingerprints. So, you've got people carrying fire into the absolute darkness, navigating miles underground with no modern anything, no maps, no modern lights, and no guarantees that they were ever going to come back out.
Right. Yeah.
But they did it anyway.
Yeah. The courage or desperation one that it took to go do that.
Yes, absolutely. So let me get to, I didn't even realize I still had that up. Let's see. I've got a couple of things from Mammoth over here. And, like I said, they have not even come close to finding, where the Mammoth Cave even, begins and ends at. So, oh, that's weird. Okay, let's try something different. Remove that. Okay, let me open it here. Okay. So it's like, what have they not found?
Really? Oh, with Bale. Yeah. Okay. Jenny, probably one of the most common, probably the explanation I would go with on that right there is more than likely they were Phoenician, because Baal was the god that the Phoenicians worshipped. They even found a place in South America where some of the Phoenicians have been blown off course, and they actually landed in South America, and they dedicated a spot to Baal, their god. So that would have been the Baal marked out in signs of Jesus and other stones on private land. Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah. Wish I could get that bigger, because I love the iridescence, from the caves and everything. But like I said, and this is all from Mammoth Caves. And like I said, on this one you can hang on, I might get that bigger. There we go. That to me is almost like a writing.
It is. It's I would say.
Well, that right down there is writing from 1839. So how much has been piled on top of? Because like I said, I can see letters and stuff, but then I also see
Yeah. Could that have been some of the earliest Germanic writings or stuff like that? I don't know. Maybe perhaps the Viking language changed a little bit over time.
That's true. And, we still don't know how long Vikings were here. And then they had a lot of those that are, like I said, they think that they were made with ash and soot and stuff like that. So like I said, you can almost see like a dog shape in there. And like I said, again, there's no telling what they haven't found. There's no telling what actually may have just, disintegrated over time too. So the parts where they have found most of this stuff are in parts of Kentucky and Tennessee in the Mammoth Caves. Some of them are abstract geometric shapes, human forms, animals scratched into the surfaces or drawn with charcoal. Like I said, there's a lot of charcoal in Mammoth. And then there's one called the Salts Cave that contained prehistoric mud glyphs and evidence of ritual activity connected to a broader cave culture of that region. And said that archaeologists are starting to believe that ancient peoples of the eastern woodlands may have viewed caves as entrances to the underworld or the spirit realm, not places of habitation, but places of transformation, ceremony, and communication with forces beyond ordinary life. So, so like I said, not just people out there, wandering around saying, "Oh, let's go see what's in here." They have actual, proof of people using these caves this way.
Yes.
So, and then you see the Anubis caves.
Yes. Yep. The Anubis Caves in the panhandle of Oklahoma. It's the Anubis Cave. That's their initiation. They were part of a Mithras cult. The Mithras bull was their, and it basically on that right there. It's on the summer solstice. It depicts the killing of the bull, and then you're born again into new life. It's basically is the gist of it. I gave you the Cliff Notes version of that.
Yeah.
Anyone old enough to remember Cliff Notes?
Oh, I remember Cliff Notes. I used to have pages and pages of Cliff Notes. As a matter of fact, if I went back on my computer archives right now, I could probably find some Cliff Notes. So, I'm trying to find some images for that.
Yeah.
Because it's very interesting.
It's in the book I was showing you earlier.
Yes. There you go.
Everybody can see that.
Yes, that shows up beautifully. As a matter of fact, let's do this.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. There we go.
Here we go. There you go. There it is right there. And there's the.
Yep.
So
see, that's amazing.
Yeah. And for 6 months, you cannot see it. It's, I think, twice a year. Summer solstice is the best time to see it. It's on private land owned by a private group. And you pretty much have to have special permission to go there to be able to see that. So,
yeah. Well, and the thing is, they say over the years that researchers and independent investigators, claim the caves contain strange carvings and symbols that do not fit neatly into known Native American traditions. Some of the imagery includes horned figures, sun symbols, abstract glyphs, tally marks, zigzags, anthropomorphic beings, and animal-like forms painted and scratched onto the cave walls. And the thing is, like you say, a lot of it pushes into old world iconography, specifically Celtic Ogham writing and imagery associated with Mithraism and Roman mystery religion centered around the god Mithras. One interpretation argues that a canine figure in the caves resembles Anubis, the Egyptian jackal-headed god, which is where the name Anubis Caves came from.
Yes.
So, and of course, modern mainstream archaeologist says that no, that's not what it is. But it's misinterpretation.
Yeah, it was some hippies back in the 60s that decided to go ahead and put that together.
Yeah. Exactly. So, I mean, but like I said, even again, it comes down to different things that you see around the world. Okay, I think I just found.
Yeah, the Ogham writing was basically just a bunch of straight lines, Jenny. It was I would hate the thoughts of having to go try to learn how to understand their writing.
Right? Okay, let me see here if I can get that a little bit bigger. Well, Okay, so that's your Mithras cow.
Yep.
Okay. And that almost looks like some kind of fish or something from above.
Yeah.
Then you've got beings over here.
Yep. He's holding the knife in his hand, I believe.
Uh-huh. Yep. And that's looks like some kind of animal on that side.
It does.
And of course, some asshole decides to come in and put his initials down there. But see that. When you start looking at that, the horse figure. And I wonder if the dots are from, because you kind of see those dots making patterns and everything. Okay. Now back to where we were. Everybody's determined to talk to me tonight. So yes, like I said, I had not come across that one in my research. So I thank you for sharing that. Like I said, I will definitely be doing some more research. And that's the thing too, you know, it's when you go back to that, I mean, even if the Romans never made it to Oklahoma, the similarity of the symbolic themes across cultures, you know, I mean, so either people are seeing some of the same things, or cultures were much more mobile than we've given them credit for.
And I believe that would have to be the case, you know, because this right here, you could make an argument that this could have been done by a bunch of Celtic people who came to America.
Right.
You know, whenever you go to reading in the history of the United States of America, you know, there were some blonde-headed Native American tribes here.
Yes. Yes.
That's that wasn't the norm. So I'll let you guess what part of the world they may have come from.
Yeah, and that's even like I said, you know, when you go back and look at the settlement at Jamestown that disappeared, you know, a generation later, you have, like I say, blonde-haired, blue-eyed natives.
Yeah,
and like I said, you know, okay, I know natives, and as a general rule, you don't see a whole lot of blonde hair and blue eyes.
No,
you don't.
And
so, like I said, it only makes sense for all of these commonalities across different cultures. Like I said, there had to have been some way that they met, whether it was a landmass or whether they had other ways of traveling that has been lost to us, which is definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
You know, like I say, you know, when you start looking at the symbol of the spiral and everything, you know, which way's in, which way's out, you know, why were some of these places that were otherwise considered inaccessible by us in modern times, yet they were still able to do it? And, you know, they did it well. I mean, like I say, you know, it's obviously that, you know, you see versions of, you know, these patterns, you know, sacred spaces that are underground, solar alignments, hybrid figures, you know, that are part, you know, part animal, part human, you know, godlike creatures, you know, cosmology. I mean, these are things that you see in Europe, in North America, Australia, Mesoamerica, and parts of Asia. So if these people, these people either had means of communication, or there were a lot more crazy beings around back in the day than we see today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, or like I said, you know, or maybe they're just better hidden today because, you know, back then they didn't have to worry about them talking about it.
Yeah, it's now it's the talk even by our own government, so
Hmm.
it's no big deal. Yeah, it's the Phoenicians, they were early on, uh, they weren't the only ones who were going out into the Mediterranean Sea, and they traveled farther and farther. They were able to put barges together that could haul a lot of people. There were
Hmm.
also other people who traveled. Uh, the tribe of Dan, they wandered far and wide. Uh,
Hmm.
and
Yep,
I could build an argument for how far and wide they did travel.
that's
Uh,
right.
uh, so, but still, nobody has answered to my satisfaction what happened to all the copper out of Michigan that went missing. Where did it go? Who took it?
I have ideas,
Yeah, you know.
but
So
they call me a conspiracy theorist.
yes, yeah, yeah. I'm in that camp also. But the simple fact remains that it's missing.
Uh-huh.
A whole bunch
Yeah.
of it's missing.
Right.
So
Well, and what did we talk about recently about what 19,000 acres under the Smithsonian? They
yeah,
only display like 2% of what they have. What are they not showing us?
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, how many times have we talked about these different things that the Smithsonian was called in, giant skeletons
Yeah.
and stuff like that that were never seen again.
Mhm.
They're sitting in a box somewhere, but I don't think it's a box in a corner. I think there's a lot of research and stuff going on that we are just not privy to.
Yeah.
So,
It's just like that. I mean, I've heard the argument proposed before, with some of these hominids, that have been found in caves in different places. And it was presented as this way, if human beings today continue to live long enough, your brow ridge would continue to grow. It's the one part of your body that will continue to get bigger. If people
right.
live for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, maybe they didn't look exactly like us back then because they'd
Hmm.
lived long enough that their looks had changed some.
Yeah.
I can't prove it one way or another, but it's an interesting thought.
Right. Well, we talked about not too long ago, Tully saying that aliens might be us
Right.
from a future time, you know. Um, and I'm not going to say that's not a possibility because I've heard much stranger things that have ended up being plausible. So, and I actually find it interesting. There for a while, a couple of years ago, I found this writer that his books are apocalyptic. One was a virus, a retrovirus that wipes out most of humanity. One was basically the sun is blocked and we start slowly freezing to death and stuff. And
Yeah.
he's a really good writer. So like I said, I enjoyed his work. But in the one where we start freezing, it's because there is like this panel that is between us and the sun that an alien civilization has put up. And as they're researching, trying to figure out what's happening and all this stuff, it ends up that it is us from the future because we were told, do whatever you can to prevent us from killing ourselves off. And we were trying to kill ourselves off. So they decided, well, no, we're just going to stop that. We can't let them do that. So by trying to protect us, they were killing us off, and and it's like, okay, how do you argue with yourself from a future time?
Yeah. It's I really believe that at some point in time, seems like there's a really, really good possibility that nuclear weapons will be used at some point in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the talk of you can't get on any social media without running across somebody talking about more data centers going in. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Larry.
The latest one in Arkansas, I knew that they had plans to build one in Little Rock, and now they have plans to build one in Conway, which is just northwest of Little Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And 100 people showed up to the I guess the town hall meeting or whatever. Not everybody could get in.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're up to 6.
Yeah.
Being built right now. And our governor did not even announce that he was talking. He just announced, oh, by the way, look what I just did.
Yeah.
Totally did it without any kind of hearings or anything else, because he's on his way out, and he got kickbacks, but they have no land taxes, no income taxes for like 20 years. They don't have to pay tax on any of the materials that they buy in the state. Yep. And at the end of it, it'll give 50 people a job.
Yeah.
But what it's going to do to the environment and to the people who live in those areas is unthinkable.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And I think I sent you the picture of the Smackover formation this week, where it has been approved by the state of Arkansas to go ahead and start mining the lithium from South Arkansas. They've got the permits approved now. I was showing y'all pictures of the seismic machines down there, in 24?
Yeah, exactly.
And, so now the permits are there. So, and I forget how much lithium they think they're going to be able to produce every year.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll go back to the fact that I was watching The Fifth Element yesterday, and there's the fog zone, and it's really sad, and what got it started was we were sitting there, and he gets in his cab and it says, you have 5 points on your license. And I turned and looked at my husband. I'm like, we're that close to being there right now with all this crap they're putting in new cars. It's just a matter of time before everything, and like I said, I'm all about technology. I am all about advancement, but at some point you have to start weighing against what it's actually doing. We're already an overpopulated world, and there's plenty of land out there that people could live on, but there's nothing there to encourage people to live there, or it's crap. So how are these pieces of land going to look 20 years after a data center's been sitting, up the road from it? Or, the data center's closing down. Now we've got this big pit of, nothing, because nothing's ever going to grow there again. Nothing's ever going to, be healthy enough for a person to inhabit there again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it'll be a really, really long time. The simple fact that they're not paying taxes on anything, they have all these special permissions. For some reason the data center fails or whatever. But what's the likelihood that there'll ever be any kind of a cleanup?
Yeah, never. I mean, I heard they were going to open 3 Mile Island up again to be a data center.
Yeah, and this right here is something I cannot understand. I've listened to a lot of people, try to come up with reasons as to why they're building them. It still doesn't make sense to me.
No, I mean,
why
how many data centers do you need?
Yeah,
and here's the thing too. Okay, some of these, and yes, Jenny, you're right. We have areas of dense population, and industry does drive that. But like I said, places where people could live and be, the center part of this country, there's nothing there. There are no schools, there's no infrastructure, there's no jobs.
Yeah,
and I think that's
build it.
Yeah,
that'd be the thing.
That, or it's too damn close to Yellowstone, and Yellowstone is 40,000 years over for its next big eruption.
Yeah, if Yellowstone goes off, it will change life for a lot of people.
Yes, it will. Yes, indeed, it will. That movie, The Day After Tomorrow, it would be a pretty good indication a
Mhm.
pretty good indication.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
all right.
It's, I don't know. I'm still struggling to understand why the big push, the
Mhm.
big Matador data center in, was it Abilene, Texas, or somewhere out west?
Was that the one either you or Tully one sent this week about the one that's like acres and acres and acres?
Yeah, they're putting a big one in Ohio,
That's the
but
one I'm thinking about. The one in Ohio.
the one in Texas, I think it's supposed to be the biggest one built yet. Unless that one in Ohio is going to be even bigger. For what?
Hang on.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you want a recipe, anything you can think of that you want to look up and gain information on it, you can go to Google or any of these internet,
Mhm.
any of these internet,
Yeah.
and find the information. It's just,
I forget who it is. I think it's X. Elon is building one of the ones in Mississippi. And he just ordered something like double the turbines he was authorized for with no oversight at all. So why do you need to double, that? And I'm not ever going to know. None of us are ever going to know. I mean, 10-1, the governor's never going to know. He's just going to get told what they think he wants to hear. And it's going to make him, that's going to give him a good sound bite about what it's going to do for the state.
Mm-hmm.
And it does not take much research to figure out exactly what the ones we currently have are doing to the states that they're in. But,
yep. It's just like we talked last week, about Ford and how they had got some kind of a bill or something passed in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
None of us voted on it. It's for all this new technology that they're putting in the vehicles.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I really think people are missing out on a big opportunity to go ahead and hack all this stuff and make the vehicles what the vehicle owner wants it to be instead of what the corporations want it to be.
This may cost me something in the long run, but I'm so disappointed in the serious hackers that we allegedly have in this world, because they could do so much for their fellow man right now, and they're choosing not to. And I'm so disappointed.
Yep.
I remember here not too long ago, an anonymous post popped up on my feed, and I'm like, screw anonymous. What the hell have they done for us lately? I mean, that I don't know who has them under control. 10-1, they were probably already owned by a government, and they just were able to make a name at a time when people needed that. But now, there's too much they don't want out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. What was it today? I ran across something today where they're for data centers and stuff like that, and it's actually going to be put in another country's the one wanting to put this certain data center in. I think in California. I'll let you guess the country, but yeah.
Didn't I think that the one in Ohio is backed by another country? Not that country, but I think it's the Saudis, maybe.
Mm.
And that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think here a few months ago we gave, I think it was Saudi Arabia, access to one of our military bases in Ohio, where we train fighter pilots and stuff. And I'm like, why would you do that? These people aren't our friends.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't get it.
Yeah, Jenny, it's whether people like it or not, X is one of the largest media outlets right now. They are. It is. It's it's huge. It has passed up everything else.
Yep. Yes, it
Like it or
has.
don't like it, but that's the truth.
Well, like I said, none of this is anything we're getting a say-so in. It's
No.
all being done behind closed doors. There's way more to it than we're ever going to be privy to.
Mhm.
I mean, and that is by design. It's like Tully's made the comment more than once about maybe not this time, but next time there's going to be a radical that comes along that we're all so ticked off with everything going on that we're going to vote that person in. And it's either going to be great or it's going to be an utter detriment to the human race,
Right.
So,
I guess thinking about this right here, I can remember 25 years ago, hearing about this stuff right here and how they're going to have computers are going to take care of everything. You won't have to worry about paying your taxes, all this other stuff. It's already going to be taken out. Everything's already going to be taken care of. This is a goal that they've been working on for well over a quarter of a century. And I guess maybe the data centers are going to take care of that and make this dream come true.
right.
But to me, whenever I look at it, I'm sorry, excuse me. I can't help but compare it to how the coal companies had complete and total control over the lives of the people who worked in the coal mines.
Mm-hmm.
They owned the houses, they owned the stores, they owned the tokens, they owned everything.
Yes. What was it? Oh, crap. I think it was, I know for a fact, I know who it is. Musk a few months ago was doing, he was speaking somewhere and had made the comment that, people didn't need to worry about retirement because within the next 20 years, we would have so much money that nobody would have to worry about retirement or even work because, and that's scary too. I mean, government assistance should be there for people who need it, because people get old, people get sick, most of us are, 2 paychecks away from devastation if we get sick. That's the reality. But I do not want the government owning every aspect of my life. I'm able-bodied. I can work. Just pay me a fair wage and give me the things that by rights every person in this country should have. We should all have health care. That should not be a privilege. It should be a right. We shouldn't have a hungry person in this country because we have that much.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about the fact that you cannot in any way. Yes, Jenny, our men who served are treated horribly, and that is a travesty in a country that has so much. But, we've talked about the fact that you cannot spend $1 billion in a lifetime, even living an extravagant lifestyle.
Right.
Unless you're blowing up rockets, that doesn't count though. But, just your average, you can have every luxury under the sun and still never have to worry about money with $1 billion. Anything over that, you could take everything over that in this country and there would not be one person in this country doing without. Yeah. And you could do that in every country. Mm-hmm. Just cap it at $1 billion, give them a certificate and say, you did it, good job. And then, because they're not going to do it voluntarily, because we all know that, if you give them this money and cut their taxes, they're going to pass it down to their people. That is the biggest crock of shit that's ever been quoted. Because they're proving they're not.
And it doesn't matter which wing of the bird it is either. No, sir.
It absolutely does not. It absolutely does not. And it's sad that so many people lose sight of that. So many people are like, no. Again, it's not left and right. It's haves and have-nots. Mm-hmm. And they know how to keep everybody pissed off.
Yep.
I mean, so... But like I said, and while I think that everybody has the right to make money and to build wealth and everything, You did not make that money on your own. People
Yep.
helped you make that money, and people should get part of that.
Yeah. So,
So
yep.
there you go. We are cattle, Landa. We
Yeah.
are absolutely insignificant. And that's okay. Did you hear this week that we're underbabied?
Underbabied.
Underbabied. That came from our Health and Human Services guy, that people in this country are underbabied. And here's the thing. They're not separating fertility from birth rate. People are choosing not to have kids because people cannot afford to have kids. And, as a matter of fact, there has been a huge uptick in young people choosing voluntary sterilization because they do not want or cannot afford or even think about bringing kids into this world. I don't feel underbabied either, Landa.
I don't either.
But somebody made a
most of mine are grown, Landa, but I'm not underbabied.
No. Somebody put it very well, and I'm going to butcher it. But I liked it because somebody said, we've often talked about the fact that there are 8 billion people in this world. 8 billion. That's a lot of people. And there are people that are going hungry and that are homeless.
Yep.
But they keep referring to the fact that if people don't start having babies again, then the world's not going to be sustainable. So in other words, you're not going to have slave labor in a few generations if people don't step up.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's by no means verbatim how it was put, but they're right. You don't see them having more kids. You don't see the haves, encouraging their children to have more kids. It's the little guy, they were complaining because, part of it is because the teenage birth rate has gotten so low. When we were kids, that was the goal. Let's end teen pregnancy. Well, you know what? We listened. It took a couple of generations, but teen pregnancy is at an all-time low in this country, and that is phenomenal. That is amazing. But they're bitching about it because they're not going to have enough people to sustain the world.
Landa, stop it. Stop.
I forgot to turn on our comments today, but oh God, Landa, you're terrible. You're not wrong, but and yes, Jenny, I'm sure they're growing some too. But see, anytime they start getting deep into the AI thing, because they had a thing a few months ago at the White House where they walked out with a robot.
Yeah.
I'm like, I still remember iRobot. I remember that movie very well. I remember 2001 when the computer decided, we're going to stop. I don't want computers to take over. And they've already had incidences where they have had to shut them down because they were carrying on in their own language,
Yep.
And
created their own religion.
Yes. Why would we want that? And then you turn around and, what was it? Shoot. It'll come to me in a second. I had a thought and it was a good one. Clones, AI. I don't know. I forget. But they had to shut down a part of ChatGPT recently because it got, what was it? Obsessed with goblins.
Yes.
I'm still thinking goblins is code for something.
Oh yeah, it has to be. It has to be. So,
there you go. We need to be underbabied. We really do. Until we can fix some of the problems that we have in this world, I think bringing an excessive amount of new people can wait.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and on the timeline, we are currently between Soylent Green and Children of Men
Mm.
in the sci-fi timeline. So we have not, I don't see us in the position that they were in the Children of Men. But
You know, it's was China really telling the truth whenever they were talking about the incubators that could grow a baby from conception all the way till they could live on their own outside the machine?
I don't know. I know that they recently talked about the fact that they had created, surrogate
Yeah.
robots.
Yeah, an artificial womb or something like that is what they
Mhm.
call it. So
Yeah.
that's maybe that's what the plan is, you know. So
End of Days. That was the other movie I was thinking about that. When you start talking about cloning.
Mm-hmm.
Or The
Yeah,
Island.
They can't clone
Was
me. They can't clone me. So I'm the real Steven. I'm the only one there will be.
As far as you know, you've been in the hospital before.
Yeah, you're right. You know, that's
I mean, it's and you're right, Jenny. I mean, they can't mimic spirituality, but there's also the possibility they don't care about spirituality. They don't care about spirituality at all, because when you start having hope, then you start possibly having thoughts and wanting to fight back.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know. It's with what's going on. I guess for me, the conclusion for the data centers, even though it really doesn't make sense to me, is it seems like it's bringing in a system that's spoken about in the Bible, in Revelation, the beast. It's a beast system. It's a Babylonian system is what it is, where it's going to have control, but it's going to be conquered in the end by another system that's coming in, that's building and building and building.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that could be coming in that's going to overtake this system that we're seeing in its development right now could be a rebirth of the Ottoman Empire, because that was just look into it and look at all the land mass that it controlled at one time. It was a huge area.
Yep.
From Turkey all the way down to Saudi Arabia and other parts of it in there. It was all under their control.
Yep.
Every bit of it.
Yep.
So.
And I'm not 100% sure what that whole meeting they had this week over in China was, but
yeah,
that's kind of scary that it was not. There were way too many business people involved in that for my comfort.
Yep.
Yep. I mean, it's like, why? Because like I said, it was supposed to have been a meeting between two government leaders, which, I mean, that makes perfect sense. Government leaders get together and do that. But bringing in all of these uber rich people does not bode well for most of us.
No.
Yeah.
Have you heard any recent talk on Greenland?
Mm-mm.
I haven't either. It's kind of disappeared from the news.
Yeah.
and this is the goal. They'll throw something out like that, and then there'll be 100 other things that get flooded into the news feed, and that gets buried.
Well, yeah, that's somebody posted a couple of days ago to cover the Epstein files. They gave you a war, a new pandemic, and aliens.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's fair. It's almost anything anymore is a distraction. Mm-hmm. And I forget who it was. Somebody sent me something. Oh, one of our listeners sent me something the other night that from the government UFO release. And I just kind of chuckled. And I'm like, if the government releases it, I'm less apt to believe it, and I believe in all this stuff. I firmly believe in alien life. I firmly believe in stuff that most people think I'm crazy for. But if the government gets behind it, I start doubting it a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, Jenny, I think probably 20 to 25 years myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's my thoughts on it.
There are a lot of things from the, mid 50s to the early 70s that was wrong with this country and this world. I mean, Jim Crow and the racism and everything. But if we could get rid of that, but bring the rest of that time period back, where one person could work and support a family of 4 and pay for their kids' college and, buy a house, buy a car. And, companies got taxed at a better rate. So they passed it down to their employees so that they could get the tax write-offs. That's what they had to do to get tax breaks, is to pass it down to their people. I mean, like I said, there was a lot wrong with that time period, but there was a lot right with it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's I would miss doing what we're doing, but of course, this technology is not going away.
No.
It's only going to increase. But if you think about it, back then you had one phone per household. If you wanted to go see your friends, you just went and hung out with them.
Yes. But I even remember, and this was not as big of a thing when I was a kid, but it was still around because my grandmother had a party line.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know if we have any younger people, but a party line meant literally you picked up the phone and there may be a conversation on there. And if it was not an emergency, you hung back up because you damn sure didn't say, Miss Jones, I need you to get off the phone so I can call my friend. That was not okay. But, by the same token, you did not have to dial an area code or an exchange. If you lived in that town, you picked it up, you dialed four digits and got, Miss Jones or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I said, my parents didn't have 2 cars until I was a teenager.
Atlanta, around here, it was in this area, people who lived in town, they had the option of a private line where you didn't have to be part of the party line. But the people who lived outside in the country in the little more rural areas, their option was the party line. If they wanted,
that's what my grandmother's. I mean, she lived out in the middle of a big old cotton field, so they were lucky they had a phone line. Period, out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because she literally, the farm that she lived on and everything, the next farm down was 15 miles away. So. I think there was a store maybe 4 miles from her house, and it was just a little country store, You walk in, buy a drink, or, they had a few things, and that was it. So, It was crazy. But, like I said, it was.
Really?
I did not worry nearly as much back then. My parents did not worry about us like I worried about my kids and like I worry about my grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just a different time. But, back then, because my boss one day was listening to the news on the way in, and she goes, oh my God, I just heard this, and it was horrific. Mm-hmm. And she goes, that kind of stuff didn't happen when we were kids. I'm like, it did. But you didn't know everybody's, we didn't have the access that we do now.
Right. Yeah, you didn't have so many people going to social media to share what their thought is or to go vent or anything else. It was if you offended somebody, you had the risk of being in a fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Or look, or just the insanity. Oh my God. We had a kid, 23 years old, rear-ended a man 2 days ago. The guy gets out of his vehicle, walks back with his hands in the air. The kid rolls down the window and shoots the man in the face and kills him. It gets worse. They charged him with manslaughter. That's murder. I mean, that is just point blank murder. Now, they have since upgraded the charges, but I mean, they charged him with that. Then they dropped the charges and let him go. But evidently, my understanding is there was an eyewitness that actually saw what happened. And, they didn't have a choice. But I'm like, why was this even a question? My brain can't wrap around that. I mean, I get mad, I get angry, but you know what? You walk away.
Right.
Just walk away.
Yeah.
But
and that's I don't know. It's the way that lawlessness is promoted in this country is not good.
My thing is, and I mean, okay, my brother-in-law and I used to go in rounds because he's like, schools went to hell when they took, Jesus out of the classroom. I'm like, no, they went to hell when they took discipline out of the schools.
Yes, they did.
And I really think that is a big part of the problem today is there are no consequences. Now, I do not believe in private prisons because if you have a private prison, you need a product. And that product is people. And I think that crimes should be punishable by what they are. So I don't think a kid who steals something should be locked away for 20 years over a mistake. And I think that prisons should be geared towards rehabilitation. Teach somebody, give them a trade and have the places that they can work when they get out. Then you're less apt to have somebody back in jail. But when so many people are scared of hurting their little ones' feelings, and I'm not talking about abusing kids, you don't ever have to physically punish a child to teach them discipline.
Yeah.
But you're right. Lawlessness is a big thing. Like I said, there are no consequences. And when you see the most, high up, the richest, the most influential people doing the worst crimes with absolutely no oversight and no punishment, why should people watching that care?
Right.
I mean,
it's just like the House of Representatives earlier this year. What was it? A couple months ago? They voted in a unanimous vote to protect everybody from any sexual
that had paid off
committed.
Yeah.
Both sides. It was a unanimous vote.
Oh yes,
both parties.
It absolutely
they voted to protect themselves.
Yeah, I mean, and so that just we always knew it was happening, but that to me tells you just how much it happens.
Yeah,
and you're right. I mean, only out of 300 members, 30 voted to cinch or to quit doing this.
Yeah,
and the rest of them, both sides. Yep.
Oh yeah.
And like I said, you see it, you're seeing it all over. Like I said, because like I said, if anybody, I mean, because I see people all the time. It comes across my feed because, I've just got a crazy feed, of these people who get arrested for, hurting kids. And, or there was one that came across my feed not too long ago about a guy that got 20 years for sexually assaulting a flipping dog. And to me, that's just as bad because that is something that cannot protect itself. You should have gotten 20 years. You should have gotten shot in the head, but they don't let me make the rules. But, but then you turn around and a big megachurch minister got 6 months for raping a 12-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there it is. It's, that.
Right. I mean, where's
And
the line?
I don't approve of that either.
Mm.
6 months, that's offensive
No.
to me. That's all
Yes,
the
it
guy
is.
got, because that 12-year-old that was assaulted, that's
Mhm.
something they're going to have to live with for the rest of their life. The rest of their life. If you've never
Exactly.
been around somebody who's ever experienced that, you don't know the trauma that goes on with them throughout their entire life,
Yes.
their whole life.
Yes.
6 months in jail for somebody who did something like that.
Mhm.
I think they should have already had the person's funeral.
Yes.
Is my
Absolutely.
opinion.
Absolutely. And you're right, Landa. That's not fixable.
No.
So end it. You're not going to fix them. They will always be a predator. Always.
Mhm.
It's proven. It has been proven in every sense of the word.
Yep.
Don't waste time and money housing them. We've got kids going hungry. Let's take that money that you would spend to house somebody like that and give it to a kid that needs a meal. And I still say, let's start having hangings on the courthouse lawn.
Yeah.
And maybe,
Mhm.
maybe if we start outright, because China a couple of months ago publicly executed 3 child predators.
Mm.
Publicly televised it. That's what you do when you start putting consequences. Because you know what? If somebody breaks in my house and steals a TV, I'm going to be pissy about it.
Yeah.
But I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Like I say, a kid's never going to be okay.
No. You can replace stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's just stuff. You're going to have to replace it sooner or later anyway.
Yep.
Whether it's your car, your TV, your refrigerator, your couch. I don't care. Sooner or later, you're going to replace it anyway.
Exactly.
They sped up the process and they made me mad while they were doing it,
That's right. That's
but I was
exactly
going to have to
right.
replace it anyway. But doing
Yes.
something like that to another human being, that's something that that's with them from now on.
Yes. So like I said, I mean, I have absolutely no empathy when it comes to somebody like that. I mean, I'm not, and I will freely admit it. As a matter of fact, there was a woman sentenced to 65 years last week. She and her husband found one that was out on the predator list, took him out. They had a list of the next group that they were going to go find. They got caught. And when they sentenced her to 65 years, she says, that's okay. It was worth every minute of it. I just wish I could have gotten more of them before you caught me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There you go. I can respect somebody with that mindset.
Yeah, but somebody like that who's actually going to go out and do something that's actually justice, they're going to get 65 years. Where a lot of these cases here where they've gone out and they've done things just like that and they get 6 months or they get 18 months.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's you remember that Brock Turner back a few years ago that raped that girl that was passed out and got 3 months because he was an Olympic hopeful, and the judge said his whole life was ruined. So he felt that time served was perfectly adequate. In the same court, not the same judge, but the same court, a teenager killed her predator and got 51 years.
Yeah.
Like I said,
justice is flipped upside down right now.
Yes.
Yes,
it is.
Just look at Great Britain. The girl who defended herself in Ireland, she was the one that got arrested.
Mm-hmm.
Not the would-be assaulters. The girl who was going to defend herself. What was she, 12, 14, something like that?
Yeah.
She was young.
Yeah, she was young.
And she's the one that got arrested.
Exactly. And I don't have an answer for how to fix. I do, but there's only one of me and they will catch me. So, but at some point, when does society as a whole just say, okay, it's enough? Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah.
Y'all aren't doing the job you were hired to do by the American people or whatever country, because this is not just here.
No.
So if you can't do this, then maybe it's time for us to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I'm not promoting vigilante justice. I'm not, but I'm tired. I mean, bone deep tired. Because I'm that person. Leave people alone. Let them live their lives. If they are not harming anybody, the rest of it's not my business.
No, it's not mine either.
Yes. But, you know, when you, if you're harming other people, that's my business, because you are a part of my society. You are a part of my community. And I don't want you representing me in any way, form, or fashion.
Right.
And I don't understand the amount of just sheer silence over so much of this stuff. You know, because the first thing, the first thing when I was looking at the story about that 23-year-old who killed the gentleman yesterday, first comment was, what color was the witness? I'm like, okay, first, the person in the story or that wrote the story should not have put a race on the victim, period. No. They had a mugshot of the perpetrator. So yes, show that. But
does it,
that
somebody defending themselves, does it matter what color they are if they're defending themselves from somebody who would assault them in that way?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
Right. You know, and
that's not a relative part of the case.
Yes, it's not. I mean, he shot someone in the face, you know, for no reason. You know, he hit this person. He was the one at fault, you know. So no, there's nothing okay about that. And it doesn't matter what color the witness was. But I will be honest with you, I was tickled to death when they announced that the witness was white. Because like I said, the victim was black. You know, and that's what the guy was, just being a racist asshole. You know, I mean, that's all he was doing. And so, you know, like I said, I was very happy, you know, when somebody came back and says, well, here's a picture of the witness. Does that make you feel any better? I'm like, okay, there you go. But like I said, you know, I think that news anymore as a general rule, and there are exceptions, you just have to be real careful about it, but so much news, that is all they're after, is that shock value, you know, that keeping things stirred up, whether it's about politics or whether it's local or whatever. Because like I said, why would you even list, oh, you know, this 23-year-old white kid killed a black man? All you had to say was, this 23-year-old killed a man, period. End of story. That was all anybody needed to know.
Yeah,
you know, but like I said, you know, that doesn't sell as many papers and get as many clicks.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You know, that's the media seems bent on promoting, making it racial at any possibility, on any of it. You know, it's but they've gone to some extremes, in my opinion, to promote it. Yes,
they have. I get this thing. It comes in my mail once a week. It is a group that they check media bias. That's all they do. And they're like, and the thing about it is, we know that we have biases too. So we have people check our, you know, the way that we judge it, you know, because we want to be as fair as possible. And so, of course, you know, you've got the middle, you've got the left, you've got the right. As a general rule, they'll pick like 8 or 9 stories a week and see how each major newspaper or TV news or whatever reported it. And then say whether it's, you know, central, left, right, extreme left, extreme right. Only 3 or 4 a week make it anywhere near that center.
Yeah.
And I don't mean dead center either. I mean, you know, all of them are going to lean a little bit one way or the other, but I have never seen more than 4 in any given week out of several hundred that fall. I would say within a 20% range. So, you know, I've always known, you know, and I do try to read different things, you know, from all sides, just to see what each group is saying.
Yeah.
And, you know, anymore, it's just, do you know who, you probably are already are aware of this, but it's one of those things that it surprises a lot of people when I tell them this. One of the few that stays close to that middle is the Christian Science Monitor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, and they almost every week, they fall within that 20% range for non-bias, which is why I read their news a lot when I don't read most other people's.
Yeah.
Because I want to hear what happened. Don't tell me what you think about it. Just say this happened.
Yep. And to me, that's the way it should be reported. You know, it's disgusting. I can't. It's very rare whenever I can actually stomach the 5:30 news.
I know.
From 5:30 to 6.
Yeah.
Every now and then I will watch it just to see what they're talking about. And it doesn't matter which channel you watch. It's all the same. I mean, they all have their agendas. You know, it's you get different ones, you know. So from time to time, I will listen to people that I don't necessarily think that I'll be in agreement with, just to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, I mean,
and
because
one thing I'm convinced of is it doesn't matter which side it is. They're always going to slant themselves to be the hero of the story, and why their ideas are better than somebody else's. So
absolutely. So. We've got a friend, as a matter of fact, when I was off a few weeks ago, that we went to see, and that's all he does is sits and listens to news all day from 5 a.m. until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And Mo just told him, he goes, dude, turn it off. And he goes, well, what do you and Laura listen to? And he's like, we do not ever turn on a news channel. He said, you know, we get things, he said, mostly from friends. He said, you know, we both have friends that send us stuff.
Yep.
But my thing is, you send it to me and I'm going to read what you send, but then I'm going to go and look around and see what else is out there, you know, because I do want to see it from multiple things. And if I can get somebody from each side that's close to the same, I'm like, okay, that's probably pretty damn accurate.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you're depressed all the time. You're depressed because you don't do anything but sit there and watch news. This is a depressing time we live in. You know, yes, Jenny, it is Fox, but you know, it's like I told him, because one of my biggest problems with people in general, and this is whether it's Fox or whether it's MSNBC or anybody in between, people do not differentiate between news and opinion journalists.
Right.
Okay, you've got, just for instance, you've got Laura Ingraham on Fox, you've got Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. They are not giving you the news. They are giving you their opinion on world events. And people don't separate that. You know, I've got an opinion. You've got an opinion. You know, a lot of ours agree and we have disagreements, and that's okay. But we both know it's our opinions. It's not the gospel. And up until, what was it? I think we thought it was, they got rid of the last of it in 2008, where you had the honesty in news laws. Okay,
2008 or 2011, somewhere in that time frame is when.
Yes, it's because they broke it. They gradually got rid of it starting under Reagan, and I think the final part of it went out under Obama. But like I said, they just chiseled away at it until it was completely gone.
Yep.
And it's like, you know, that was one of the things that kind of made us special, I think, was the fact that there was fairness in broadcasting. You know, that news was news. You know, you could not call yourself a news agency unless you put out fact.
Yeah.
And we should go back to that.
Well, Jenny, my opinion on CNN and Fox News, just think of it in this way: as controlled opposition. That's
Yeah.
that would be the simple way to look at it and think of it. I mean, I used to I'll confess I used to listen to a lot of news all the time. Probably 20 when 2006 I figured out things were I kind of figured things out in 2006. So instead of just listening to one side, I started listening to some other stuff, just like Fox News. They haven't always had conservatives, they've had not Sean Hannity, Alvin Combs, the Hannity and Combs show, one was a right winger, one, Combs was a left wing. And then you had Shepard Smith. He was not conservative. I mean, he was, he just wasn't, he was on the conservative news network, but I mean, he was more of an Obama supporter than he was anybody else. Of course, I mean, whenever you go to looking at things like that right there, and how which party is ran who against who, you can see how it works. Just like you just talked about, what began with Reagan and it ended with Obama. You wouldn't think that they would be following the same program, but yet they were, and supposedly they're on different sides of the aisle. So
they're standing backstage playing cards together.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and like I said, I mean, yes, I am definitely more left leaning. I will always be, but I'm in a perfect world. I'm about as central as it gets.
Right. Yeah. I think most of us probably are.
Right. Because like I said, I believe that people should be willing to work and do what they need to do. But I also think that we should have programs in place to help people when they need it. I think that health care should be free, but I also think I have a right to have a gun. I don't have a problem with background checks and with mental health checks, because guns are a responsibility that should be taken serious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a big responsibility.
Yes. So, I mean, you should not have a problem with a background check if you're not trying to hide something or if you're doing the right thing. I don't think that just because a person has been convicted of a felony that they should lose their gun rights forever. If it was not a violent offense, people change and people can be rehabilitated. And like I said, if it wasn't a violent crime, give them their rights back. Let them show you that they can be, a productive member of society, and that should be part of that. So like I said, I've got beliefs from all sides, but over the last 20 years, both sides have been in charge with the majority enough times that they could have fixed the problems in this country, and none of them have done it.
Nope. And they're not going to.
No. Because they can't make any money if we're all prosperous and getting along. I mean, that's just where I stand on it. Yeah. I mean, like I said, and that, right. I don't understand. Yeah, I do understand. I understand exactly what it is. Like I said, that as long as they keep everybody mad at each other and fighting for their next dollar and hoping that they don't lose everything because they have a bad, health issue, they're not going to worry about what the uppers are doing. The Epstein class is going to do what the Epstein class does. And the best way to do that is to, yes, I have political derangement syndrome because I think all of them are crazy as hell. And I would take some pills, Jenny, right now. I was just reading about a thing. It's a berry up in New England, and it grows wild, and it's like highly poisonous. And I'm like, we might end some of these problems. I talk a lot of shit when I get frustrated and worked up, but I mean, it's frustrating that all of us kill ourselves. And, because, we were talking about this the other day. My dad was eligible for retirement at 52 years old. 52, full retirement, full benefits. He also qualified for Social Security at that time, full benefits at 52 years old. It's up to 67 now.
Yeah.
you're supposed to be able to work for 30, 40 years and retire and have some life left over to enjoy. And
and that's not the case.
No.
It's
that's it. We'll work till we die.
Yeah, 62 used to be the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I remember years ago, I was sent something in the mail. This is probably 2004, 2005, talking about how I was only going to receive 70% of what my benefits would have been.
Mm-hmm.
It's wow.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've got a couple of coworkers that opted to retire at 62, and they will never get more than the 70%. I mean, they'll get a cost of living raise, but if you do not wait until 69, you don't get full benefits. You won't ever get full benefits. They prefer for you to wait until you're 71. But, I hear people bitching about, Social Security is an entitlement. You damn right. I'm entitled. I've been putting into it every paycheck since I was 15 years old. Yeah. And if you want to resolve it, because had y'all not been borrowing against it and not repaying it, we wouldn't be in this position right now. Mm-hmm. You owe me 46 years of money with interest.
Yeah.
Tell me I have to put it in a 401k. That's fine, until retirement. But I definitely am owed that because myself and my employer has put in 7.5% of my income for 42 years.
Yeah.
So,
it's with me, I mean, I've been paying in for 36 years. Mm-hmm. 36 years. I've been paying into it. Mm-hmm. And I still have a long way to go before I could hit retirement.
Yes. And if they have their way, the benefits won't be there when you hit retirement age.
No.
And like I said, it was a completely self-sustaining system.
Yeah. It never should have been added into the budget as part of the budget years ago. I don't remember when that actually started, but they added that in as part of the budget, and that never should have taken place. It was wrong. And the simple fact that people have to pay taxes on this stuff, and now they have to have supplemental insurance to go along with their Medicaid, Medicare. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't be happening either.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, every administration has borrowed and borrowed and borrowed against it, and nobody has paid a penny back into it except us. Yep. And now they're saying, it's an insolvent system. No, it was not an insolvent system. Y'all blew it. You lied and said that, we're just going to do this, we'll fix it. No, you haven't. You haven't. And, I hear people argue, it was never meant to be a retirement. Yes, it was. It absolutely was. People for generations were promised this. Mm-hmm. And if you want to dissolve it, that's fine. Say anybody starting the work field today, you have to do a 401k or something like that. Social Security will no longer be taken out of your check, and you will not be a part of that program. You dissolve it that way. But the people who have put money into it and have been told that it's there for you should absolutely get every penny they put into it with interest.
Yeah, they should. It's just like with some of the cases, where people work all their life, they finally make it to retirement age, and they come to find out they have cancer or something like that. Well, the only possible way, because the medical coverage they're going to get from the government is not going to cover all of that right there. So basically, what you've worked for most people, it'll be their home that they worked for and paid for, and now it's worth $150,000 to $400,000. Well, guess how much it's going to cost for your medical treatment that's not going to extend your life? Mm-hmm. Pretty much what you have worked for your entire life.
Absolutely. I mean, because like I said, my mom has supplemental insurance. She has, she has Social Security, the whole 9 yards, and she's still getting bills every day for treatment. Mm-hmm. And like I said, that was not the promise that she was made, that you were made, that every one of these people was made. you know. And like I said, you know, you can argue all you want to about, oh, it's not supposed to be a retirement program. Yeah, it is. And if it wasn't, then somebody should have stepped up and said that plain and clear, you know. And like I said, if it weren't, then again, why have you been taking it out of our paychecks?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, if they never planned on paying it back, why didn't they just tell us, hey, we're just going to tax you this money and pretend it's going to be for this, but it's not for that. So
yeah,
just work until you die.
Exactly. That's it. You know, and I hate that because, like I said, you know, there are things that all of us want to be able to do and enjoy, but that's okay. I do believe karma is a real thing. And I do believe in some version of heaven and hell, and what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's, I think, what keeps me going some days when I just do not want to go. Oh, I do want to go, but see, I'm not that person. I remember back years ago, I was going through a treatment program, and one of the major side effects was suicide. And so hey, Alan, my doctor told me, he goes, if he gave me his home phone number, you know, his pager, because we didn't have a lot of cell phones back then and everything. And he goes, if you have any thoughts at all, you know, I need you to call me. We can get you on something. I'm like, okay. 2 weeks later, I have to go back for a checkup. And my husband told me before he left for work, he goes, either you talk to this doctor or I will talk to him. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I get there and he's like, okay, how are you feeling? Any thoughts of suicide? And I'm like, nope, not at all. He goes, no. I'm like, no, but I could slit somebody's damn throat right now. And I just, he laughed at me. And that was not the right response.
Yeah.
He goes, it is a much rarer thing, but some people, depression manifests as aggressive. I'm like, homicidal? And he goes, yes.
Yep.
I'm like, that would have been good to know, because a week ago, my husband took my children from me and took them to my father's 200 miles away because they couldn't walk in a room without me just losing my mind. So if it ever gets to that point, I'm going to go on a spree. If they tell you I offed myself, you call them a liar, because I'm not suicidal. I go homicidal. And I own it. I know this about myself. So, but all right. Look, I know, Jenny, it's who I am. And I've come a long way. Like I said, I survived the treatment. I've been in remission for 25 years. So it was worth it to be an absolute insane person for 6 months. But so if you're ever wondering why you're just so angry all the time, it could be depression.
Yeah,
could be. Just FYI. So, all right. Well, we have kept y'all for almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked about caves for about half that time.
Yeah.
And
we did. We
bitched about politicians for the rest of the time.
Yeah. I guess we covered our 6 o'clock hour in the last half of this.
In the last hour. Yes, we did. That's okay. That's all right. But we appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Hang on a minute, and I'll tell you what we may be talking about next week, because we actually, there we are, Egypt 2.0.
Ooh.
But we might not talk about Egypt. Wasn't that the one Tully wanted to be here for?
Yeah, I think Tully really wanted to be in on that conversation, so we could put something else in. Okay.
I'll tell you what, think about it over the next couple of days, something that you want to talk about, and we'll go with it.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
yeah. Covering anomalies and stuff. It's a lot more fun than covering politics.
It is. It really is. And like I said, I really enjoyed researching the cave art and stuff. Because like I said, you know, originally I went down that rabbit hole looking at the Abydos hieroglyphs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, those aren't really caves, but cave paintings, those are kind of cool. And then I just went down into a hole. And like I said, I mean, so there's some really cool ones. And, we didn't even touch on all of them because I didn't even go near the ones that were in the Sahara Desert. They have them there. Then there were some in Argentina. The Mayan cave systems. And we didn't talk about any Chinese systems. I mean, so this is one we could definitely come back around to.
Yeah. And I want to say Brazil, but it may not be Brazil, but the rocks with the carvings of dinosaurs and stuff on them, that's from South America.
Yep.
They were considered to be fake by a lot of experts. So,
Love us some experts.
I mean, just off the top of my head, I don't know that we've ever covered out of place artifacts.
Out of place artifacts? We could do that.
Yeah, just like Alan, we could do that. I mean, Alan just mentioned the Egyptian light bulb, the Baghdad battery.
Okay.
There are a lot of those.
Okay. Well, then next Friday night, we're going to talk about out of place artifacts.
Yeah. And Klaus Donna, he has a lot of information on that stuff.
Okay.
Klaus Donna, Dona, I think. So
Klaus and
Donna. Look him up. Yep.
Okay. Yep. I will do so. All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next Friday night right here.